Here we go. This is part 4 of 5, talking about your database, your CRM. I like to call it your people. These are your people. These are people that you're supposed to be taking care of and showing up for routinely over a long period of time, because real estate is not a short-term business. Now, I talked about, let me pop up on my screen here. I talked about emails, smart plan, and actual mailing. Today we're going to go over events, and if you're following along on YouTube, I've got a flow chart here. I'm using what is this tech software called MindMeister. It's free, you can use it, and then there's a paid version, of course. But let's go into this. If I'm talking about events and I'm talking about taking care of my database, I'm looking at the previous ones and saying, well, if I'm going to have what's coming up, if I'm going to have a spring event, right? And I want to make sure that it's going to be amazing, full of people, and I want to plan this right. Well, I want to make sure that people are going to be notified ahead of time. That means I'm going to use email, I'm going to use texting and phone, and I'm going to use mailing just so people can show up. Because if nobody knows about it, then this will not work, right? Now, when it comes down to your events, you've got to decide your database. What events are you going to invite them to? There are big events that we do where we invite our whole database. Do we expect them all to come? Hell no. We would go poor. I mean, my database is, for the consumer side, 80,000 people, and they are spread out. This is just the consumer. And the last big event we did was about 600 people, and it was a Halloween event, and that was us blasting it out to our whole database, which is great. Only 600 showed up. We estimated about 800, so we were shy by 2, but still, that was a ton of people. And so you have to decide, when it comes to events, who in your database is going to be invited to what? Community events? Let me expand this. That'd be winter events, summer, concert in the parks, Thanksgiving pie, Halloween, Easter. Who? I don't know. Just make sure that you plan ahead, because not everyone should be getting a Thanksgiving pie, right? Versus if you're having an event like we did in the park and you're inviting everyone, then everyone in your database, right? Now, you won't be mailing to everyone, especially if you have 80,000 people, right? You want to make it cost effective, but you better believe we texted and emailed and people showed up that way. And we did a couple of meta ads on Instagram and Facebook too. Next, Easter. I'm sorry, not Easter. I was reading the community event one. Next is my favorite one. If you were going to start with one, it would be this one. And that means one-on-one coffee. And you would show up to the same coffee shop. Why? Because it's easier. People know you there. You're eventually going to get business from there. If you treat people nice, please treat people nice, especially for the coffee place that you show up continually with clients. Or you could test out a new coffee shop and meet the owner. Just make sure to do 2 things. One, when you get there early to get to know the people that are working there. And then obviously the person that you're going to meet. You kill 2 birds with 1 stone and you start building relationships that way. But one-on-one coffee, you decide who in your database is going to deserve this. And then I'm going to go back to yesterday when I said with one-on-one, I would say it would be the same thing as a gifting one, where you're going to send these invites to, and typically it's by text, but you're going to send these invites to your core past clients and your core sphere. And maybe your farm, depending on how big your farm is and how many people you know in your farm. But those are the 3 that I would do lightly on the farm area. Small gatherings. We've done this before. Some options for small gatherings. This is where you're going to decide who in your database is going to be invited to these, whichever one you do. You could do small lunch dinners, a barbecue, potluck, tennis match, tennis game, pickleball, obviously. The movies, we rented out a theater before. We've done that. Wine tour, beach day, the zoo, whatever you want. Just decide who is going to be invited to these smaller events. Again, I would go with your core sphere, core past clients, right? Make sure to tag them in your database as core past client, core sphere. This way you know that these are the people that are going to give you business in the future. Why? Because they like you. They really love you, right? Next, sport events. which ones have we done here? We've done the horse racing, we've done soccer, we've done baseball. We've never done football, and we've never invited anybody to a high school, college game. But those we've seen other people do. And these, depending on the cost, can be affordable, like a high school game, right? Or a college football game in some cases. But again, most of these are going to be to your core sphere, core past clients. And this is the reason you start tagging your clients a certain way in your database. So you know if they are A, B, or C in your head, right? For us, it's core, right? Our core. And then lastly, learning events. This one's a little bit more open to our whole database. In fact, we've sent this to our whole database. And this is the one that's attended the least. But those that show up get the most out of it. The last one we did was the building an ADU. That was the one we did recently. We teamed up with a lender. They blasted it out to their whole database, and we blasted it out to our whole database too. We only had, I guess I shouldn't say only, but we had 100, just a little over 100 people on there. And we sent it out to both of our databases. So I would say with a learning event, depending on where it's going to be, if it's at a gymnasium, if it's at some park where you have the big building or a library, depends on the size, depends on the cost. For us, when it comes to a learning event, we're inviting everyone. And so as you're looking at this, start thinking your database, it's really your people. And your people, depending on who they are, should or shouldn't be invited to some things. And that's okay, because not everyone in your database is created equal. This is the reason for this exercise. Anyway, I will talk to you again tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last one. We're going to go into social media. We're going to have some fun. Talk then.